Welcome to this workshop where we're going to talk about a brand new feature called Report Snapshots, including their templates inside of GA4. So let's go ahead and hop right in. Okay, so if you haven't been in GA4 in a hot sec, there is actually a lot of different things that have been going on behind the scenes, a lot of little, productive things where you can go through and learn more. Show me how. So if you haven't seen these things, you haven't explored, go ahead and do that. But for the sake of this teaching, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this guy here and just say, got it. And we're going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see what all the cool stuff is going on. So we actually literally taught this just a few weeks ago, and this feature came out last Thursday. So I'm recording this on a Tuesday and it came out on Thursday, and I couldn't wait to actually share this with you and make sure we're going to update everyone on the course and let everyone know, because I'm going to have to eat my words, because I said during the course that, hey, these report snapshots aren't very useful. The real-time overview, or sometimes these overview reports, aren't very useful. Well, Google just, maybe they heard me and they're like, we're going to show her. Well, the report snapshot just got really amazing, because you can now create, as you can read the words here, you can create your own snapshot and you can preview a template before you actually implement it. And it's really neat. So, and obviously you can't even go back to the previous snapshot view, which we'll do at the very, very end of this if we wanted to. So if you see, there's users, sales and revenue, and marketing performance. So for those of you that are content marketers, this is awesome for you to see here, or possibly user behavior might be great for you too. So if we want to preview this template, we're just going to hit the handy dandy button there, and we can go through and see the different things that we might be able to find useful for us. So remember, when you're viewing a report and making your own dashboard, you want it to be actionable. So possibly sometimes these snapshots could be actionable to you if it's telling you, yep, the traffic is going to the pages that we thought it was going to be. Or if you're doing engagement, maybe you have a certain threshold for bounce rate. Or maybe if we're looking at revenue, you need to make sure, yes, revenue is still collecting and it's not blank, so we're good. So you want to make sure your reports are actionable, and some of these can definitely be actionable depending on what type of questions you're having. So this is the user behavior one. We can hit the back button right here and go back to where we just were, or we can choose over here, preview a template, which again, following the blue text here, it's kind of, we're having to trip over ourselves to kind of not do this correctly. And so, this could be an action step. Hey, we don't have any add to carts, but we have purchases. And that's just because of the type of site we have. We haven't implemented and utilized this feature here as an add to cart. It's a page view and not an actual button. We don't measure it that way, but maybe if we wanted to be able to do that, we could. And then there's this other thing right here. Like, interesting. Well, not sure. So it's average revenue per purchase user, revenue per something like that. So we have those. And then again, because we're not measuring our e-com in a typical e-commerce store, think like a Shopify store or something like that, we don't have items added to cart. So we don't see that here, but maybe we would want to do that here. And we would want to make this easier, actionable for us if we want to have a nice handy dandy snapshot for us or for a client. Now going on to the third one, we have marketing performance. So we can then come in here and see, very similar to user behavior, but again, it's a little bit more, it's kind of a combination of the two, because you have your revenue and you have key events and sessions and stuff like that. You can't choose which key event you're seeing here. So is it a opt-in or is it a purchase? We don't quite know at this level at this time. So let's go ahead and choose this template and see what happens. So we choose this template and report snapshot, there we go, updated, and we have this. Now let's customize this report and see what we're able to do. So you can see your top metrics, which are these guys, active users, new users, and you can go through and adjust and make some, you need to get rid of an existing one before we add one. So we can go through, and if we wanted to change that. So if we didn't want average engaged session, what if we wanted revenue right there? Kind of like the other report had? Or what if instead of key events, we would want to add that here? So we could go through and adjust what it is that we're seeing here as well, which is nice that we can go through and do that. So I'm going to hit the back button because I'm not going to save anything. So we're going to hit that. But if we did want to add a filter or something like that, we don't have that option here. Like for instance, if I only want to see people that see a certain sales page or something like that, you definitely would still want to be able to go into one of these reports and customize those reports. Same thing here, but you're going to be able to filter those a little bit differently. For instance, if we just come into our traffic acquisition report, you see there's this option here to filter. Now, I don't know if our report snapshots will eventually have that option too. Seems like that would be kind of nice for us to be able to do that. But if we added a filter there, if we would be able to then change that, and obviously you can go through and customize, and you can even have a report filter. These are the other ones, not the snapshots. So if you do end up like, oh, I really wish my snapshot would do that, that'd be amazing. You can definitely do that. You can save them as a new report there, and then they would end up in your library, and then you would just add your report to your collection, kind of the things that we talked about inside of our course, inside of our GA4 basics, and then you would have them located into another collection like we did, like we showed in our course. So that's just something you can do if you go through your snapshot and you're needing it to be a little bit more customized than what you're able to do. You could still customize a report and then create your own little section for yourself. But like I said, you want your reports to be actionable. Like you want to be able to take action on them, get in there and then see what's going on, see what the action should be, and then get out of the report. And the action could be, let me go investigate this a little bit more. Not dive deep and not do all these things, but the action could be, okay, which page is doing this? Where's the sales coming from? Or, something like that. So, and the action could be, like we mentioned before, is the traffic, is everything still plugged in correctly? And we can go through and do that. So now that we have our report snapshot, I want to make sure we're clicking on here and we see, we're hovering on here, we could see learn more about this and all of that, which just would be a help doc. And we can go through and see, we can view annotations, which also is a new addition to GA4 in the recent weeks. We can edit comparisons. This is not the comparisons of the different report snapshots. These are kind of like these out of the box segments that you can use if you wanted to be able to do that. You can share the report, which would be emailing it or something like that. And then you can go through and say, give me your insights and all of that stuff. And then we've already talked about the editing as well. So we're going to back out of that, not change any of that. The one thing we didn't review is the add comparison. So this is kind of, we just mentioned that comparison for the segments out of the box, mobile traffic versus desktop and stuff. We talked about it right here, but you do also have the button right there. And obviously you can change your date to whatever it is, especially if you have certain campaigns for certain dates, like the last 7 days, you can narrow that down. So what do you do if you decide, well, I don't really like this view, I like the other one? How do I go through and fix that? Well, if we go back here, you realize, oh, that's the place we were just at. Crud, where did it go? We're actually going to refresh real quick. Sometimes when we're doing all the recording things, it takes a hot sec for it to do that. So we're good here. This is what we see. We're not seeing those templates. We're not seeing the big blue bar above the screen like we initially did. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose to customize the report. And if you're thinking, oh crap, we're going to have to go through and customize every single thing, that's going to take a while. You would be right. However, we are very fortunate enough to have this little guy right here. So we see template, change report snapshots. We're going to click on this and there's our 3 templates again. So we can go through and change. So if I want to say choose this template and then report snapshot updated, and then, and this is for everybody who has access to this property. So if anyone on our team, or if we had other vendors, like ad vendors and stuff coming in here, they would all see this too. This is for everybody. So if we wanted something a little bit more generic and nothing to do with sales, we could edit something here, or we can go through and then say, nope, let's do user behavior, and we can choose this template right there. And so that way you can go through and see which template works best for you, and but also have the ability to customize it as well. And remember, you want to make sure that any sort of dashboard, any sort of report that you have is actionable as well. And be very careful as you're going through and editing any of your reports because they are viewable to everybody who has access to those. And then we just highly encourage, if you do need something that customized for yourself, then follow the training that we've done inside of our GA4 basics course that we show you how to customize your reports and then create your own little section that could be like for your agency, your department, or whatnot. To be able to have that unique to you. And so your reports are there, and then you don't interfere with any of the default reports that somebody else might be using, another vendor might be using. So you can have yours separate, but then Report Snapshot is all yours and everybody's to share. So hope that is helpful. Really excited for this new feature. I'm hoping one day we might have filters up here, but that might be a no-go or different types of scope and certain things like that. But still, this is nice that we actually are able to customize this and have these little templates to make this easier for that. And I got to eat my words where I said, hey, these things aren't very useful because we weren't really able to get much action out of them. And then they came up with this. So super exciting, and I hope you like it as much as we do.